Hello, young minds. Today, I'm going to tell you about the life of Tchaikovsky, one of the world's greatest music composers. Together, we'll discover his masterpieces and journey. Let's dive right in. Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky was a little boy from a small town in Russia who grew up to be one of the world's greatest composers. To us, he'll just be Pyotr. He was born on May 7th, 1840, to a loving family. Pyotr was the second of 6 children. His parents knew he was special because he began to show an interest in music when he was just a tiny tot. When Pyotr was young, his family moved around a lot. This made it difficult for him to make lasting friendships. He felt lonely often, and it was this loneliness that sometimes seeped into his music, giving it a deep emotional touch. Pyotr's mom would often play the piano, and he would listen, enchanted. He loved music so much that he learned to play a little tune on the piano when he was just 4 years old. Seeing his talent, his parents decided to give him piano lessons. Can you believe he could read music better than his mother by the time he was just 6 years old? Pyotr's parents enrolled him in the school when he was 10 years old, intending for him to have a career as a civil servant. He lost his mom when he was just 14, and it was very tough for him. But he found solace in music, which helped him express his feelings. He once said, "Music is indeed the most beautiful of all heaven's gifts to humanity wandering in the darkness. Alone it calms, enlightens, and stills our souls." When he was 21 years old, Pyotr made a brave decision. He left his comfortable job as a civil servant and joined the St. Petersburg Conservatory to study music. It was a big risk because many people didn't believe that composing music could be a proper job. But Pyotr was determined to follow his dreams. At the conservatory, Pyotr studied music day and night. He learned about harmony, melody, and rhythm. It was hard work, and sometimes he felt overwhelmed. But every time he played a beautiful piece of music or composed a little tune, he knew he was doing what he loved. After he graduated, Pyotr worked as a music teacher to make a living. He lived in a tiny apartment and sometimes had to skip meals to save money. His real dream was to become a full-time composer. He would spend his free time composing music, even if it meant staying up late into the night. Not everyone understood or appreciated Pyotr's music at first. Some people said his music was too emotional or too unconventional. It was heartbreaking for Pyotr to hear these comments about the music he poured his heart into. But Pyotr believed in his music. He once said, "One must always work. I never permit myself to be discouraged. I believe that one must pass through much suffering in order to create." He continued to compose, even in the face of criticism. He composed with all his heart, and he waited for the world to listen. Then, something remarkable happened. Pyotr wrote a symphony, his very first one. He called it Winter Daydreams. It was a challenging project that required a lot of hard work, but Pyotr was excited. He poured his heart and soul into the symphony. When it was finished, he had to find an orchestra willing to play it. This was no easy task. Many orchestras were wary of playing music by an unknown composer, but Pyotr was not easily discouraged. He kept approaching different orchestras, believing in his music. Finally, the famous conductor Nikolai Rubinstein decided to give Pyotr a chance. He agreed to perform Pyotr's symphony with his orchestra. The day of the concert was one of the most nerve-wracking days of Pyotr's life. As the music started, Pyotr held his breath. By the end of the performance, the audience was mesmerized. They applauded enthusiastically, and Pyotr knew he had made it. This was his first major success, and it marked the beginning of a brilliant career in music. A fun fact about Pyotr is that he was so nervous when he conducted his own music that he would hold his chin with his left hand. He was afraid his head would fall off while he was conducting. Can you imagine that? After Pyotr's first successful performance of his symphony, Winter Daydreams, doors began to open for him. His music was being appreciated, and the critics who once frowned upon his emotional music were now praising him. One of his significant successes came when he composed the fantasy overture Romeo and Juliet, inspired by Shakespeare's famous play. The powerful love theme he composed is still one of the most recognized melodies in classical music today. People were moved by Pyotr's ability to translate the story of Romeo and Juliet into music. This work further established Pyotr as a leading composer in the world of classical music. But perhaps the biggest turning point in Pyotr's career came when he composed ballet music. In the 1870s, Pyotr wrote the music for the ballet Swan Lake. It was the first ballet music composed by a symphonist, and it changed the world of ballet music forever. The music was rich, dramatic, and full of emotion. It was like nothing people had ever heard before in a ballet. Pyotr's music for Swan Lake was so successful that he was asked to compose more ballets. He went on to create The Sleeping Beauty and The Nutcracker, both of which have become some of the most popular ballets in the world. The music he composed for these ballets was magical, filled with beauty and wonder. Sergei Rachmaninoff, another celebrated Russian composer, spoke highly of Tchaikovsky's music. When I hear Tchaikovsky, I believe in God. Pyotr also composed some fantastic symphonies like Symphony No. 4, 5, and 6, known as the Pathétique, which became incredibly popular. His 1812 overture, which includes Rilke on Fire, was another significant success and is still used today to celebrate special occasions. By the end of his career, Pyotr was not just successful, he was a legend. His music was being played in concert halls all over the world, and he had fans in every corner of the globe. The famous ballet dancer Rudolf Nureyev, who performed in many productions of Tchaikovsky's ballets, said, "You live with Tchaikovsky, you live with his notes, his music, and it's so easy because it's so beautiful." He had taken his dreams and made them a reality, and in doing so, he had changed the world of music forever. Wherever people heard Pyotr's music, they would close their eyes, tap their feet, and feel the music in their hearts. He once said, "Truly there would be a reason to go mad were it not for music." Pyotr's music was loved all over the world, not just in Russia. His music has magic that makes people feel all sorts of emotions. As one of his fans once said, listening to Tchaikovsky's music is like experiencing a beautiful dream, full of passion, sadness, and joy. Pyotr passed away on November 6, 1893. Even though he's no longer with us, his music continues to live on. People all around the world still listen to his music, perform his pieces, and dance to his ballets. Pyotr's music will always be a part of our world, making it more beautiful and emotional. Pyotr taught us to believe in ourselves and the power of our dreams. He showed us that it's okay to be different and that we should express our feelings, whether they're happy or sad. In Pyotr's own words, inspiration is a guest that does not willingly visit the lazy. Lang Lang, one of today's most famous concert pianists, has often played Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1. He once said, "Tchaikovsky's music is full of beautiful melodies and emotional moments that are a gift for a pianist." So children, just like Pyotr, never be afraid to be different, to dream big, and to express yourself. And remember, the world is full of music, just waiting for you to discover and create your own symphony. And so, the story of Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky lives on in every beautiful melody we hear and every beat we feel in our hearts. His music, his perseverance, and his courage will continue to inspire generations to come.